rise up, gonna kick a little ass, gonna kick some ass in the USA, gonna climb a mountain, gonna soar a flag, gonna fly on an eagle, I'm gonna kick some butt, I'm gonna drive a big truck, I'm gonna roll this road, I'm gonna kick some ass, I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna kick a little ass, rock, flag, and eagle.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your late host to the podcast, Drew Gear. This is my producer, Chris Kruger. Guys, you don't understand what it is. I love how Anthony's trying to stifle his laughter over here.
No,
well, you missed the whole thing.
Of course I did.
You missed the whole thing. I played Rock, Flag, and Eagle at the end of the song because America is number one in hockey, gold medal. That is the closest I've ever...
Two gold medals over Canada in a single
men
week.
and women.
Yeah.
That's the closest I'll ever get right now to my team winning it all. So I'm hockey first, football second, then baseball, Cleveland Indians, and then basketball no one cares about. I'd rather listen to the State of the Union than watch an NBA game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But did you get up for the game?
Yeah,
Sunday?
I got up. I watched it. I was torn. I really dislike a lot of dudes on my team. It's hard for me to separate like the hatred I have for guys like on the NHL teams I don't like and then have to root for them for like
Charlie McAvoy.
No, I don't mind. I hate the Kachucks. Like, and I also really like McDavid, even though I'm not a like big stud kind of guy. And Makar is sick, but I don't root for Canada. But yeah, I got up for it. I watched it. It was intense. I really thought when they squandered that power play late, I was like, Canada was all over. Like,
Dude, it was the most one-sided hockey game I've watched. And I'm a Sabres fan.
That's fair. They just could not, like, there were so many moments where I was like, oh, here's the goal, and they just couldn't. The paddle save by Hellebuck, like, the open net misses, and then you get the 3-on-3, and anything can happen. And yeah, man, it just felt like at some point that Canadian wave was going to, like, it was going to turn, and the floodgates would open.
The two-man advantage was the turning point, because that's when really Canada took it over. But all the Americans needed to do was to get to overtime, because anything can happen. And as much as the Canadians were bitching after the game, it's 3-on-3. You had Makar, McKinnon, and McDavid out there for 3-on-3.
The three best hockey players in the world.
You have the speed, you have the skill, you have everything you need to win that 3-on-3 game, and you didn't. You didn't even have a good score. We had more scoring chances. That Quinn Hughes slap shot that could have gone in off of Bennington's glove. The Americans played the... going into the game, I thought the Americans had the better defense and the better goaltending, and the forwards was a light year difference in skill, and it showed because defense wins championships. You have, not for nothing, you have McKinnon missing the net. You have McAvoy, doing his best. Adam Sandler got to toughen up, takes a puck to the chest to block it out of the net, and then the Connor Hellebuck save was just amazing. It was the best hockey game I have ever watched in my entire life.
Wow. So high praise.
So what I love coming out of that, and Chris, if you have a second, can you refresh our guest's drink?
Yeah, we're a little tight.
We're a little tight because someone had to go drain the main vein while we were. I literally just.
I'm also Czech, so like I really thought we had it against Canada the round before, and I was like, oh my God, and then Canada tied it late and won in OT, and I was like, damn it. Like, oh man, I'm big into rooting for like my nationality and bloodline. So like, come hockey time, it's the only time I can ever like. Little me was so stoked for Dominik Hasek in the Czech Republic to win gold in '98. Like, my favorite hockey player growing up was Patrick Elias from the Devils because he was sick, but he was also Czech. So come Olympic time, I roll hard for Czech, even though it's split now. And then thank you. And then come World Cup time, I ride hard for Italy.
My favorite thing to come out of this was Milan style. A Milano style. No, Milan style. Listen to this. When they were talking about the size of the rink, and they were saying, "Hey guys,
4 feet short."
It's 4 feet shorter than everyone. And I go, well, wait, I looked at my wife and I go, honey, isn't international ice supposed to be bigger? And they go, no, guys, you don't understand. It's just Milan style.
They changed it. It used to be way bigger.
It used to be way bigger, but...
And those games to play on the NHL video games when you could use the international ice was so fun because it was so wide open.
Also, do you understand all the construction problems they had in Italy when they were building this stadium to have these hockey games?
Fair.
So, of course, they went smaller. And so in that way, when I heard them on the broadcast talking about, well, this is a Milan style rink, or Milan style rink, the only thing I can think of is, do I just get to say that now every time I screw up? When I make a mistake, do I go, my wife goes, hey, you did this wrong. I go, no, I just did it Drew style. It's a Drew style packing of the groceries into the car. It's a Drew style not drinking too much on a Sunday when the Bills make me angry. Sorry, I did it Drew style. Like, anything I do wrong, can I just paint it as a style and then it's acceptable? Because it's literally what Milan did for these Olympic Games. They were like, hey, we're 4 feet short.
So I started watching, I hadn't, because especially too with like hockey being gone from the Olympics just for one cycle, last cycle, right?
2014 was the last
2014,
time.
okay, so Tuesday, yeah. Like, that to me was such a travesty. And so I was watching I forget what game I watched first. It was one of the opening day ones for hockey. And I was like, the ice doesn't feel bigger like it normally does. And so I looked it up and it was like, oh yeah, no, it's the same width and then it's a couple feet shorter. And I was just like, what? Why is it shorter?
And so then they kept talking about, oh, this looks like the fastest hockey game I've ever seen. No shit, because it's a smaller rink. Why wouldn't it be faster?
That's funny.
Like, all of these things are hilarious to me.
They should make hockey rinks like baseball stadiums, and so like they're each constructed differently. Like how the Red Wings end boards are always super bouncy. There should be different, like, I don't know, like one corner has a triangle, like at Fenway Park, and they just create super crazy home field advantages with the rinks.
Chris, what are your thoughts on Joe Brady's chain? I'm already seeing it in the chat.
I mean, that's what he does. It's Joe Brady. You wear a chain everywhere. Chain out, you got to do... got to go black, either black shirt or a full white shirt, and look like he doesn't look like a head coach at the combine.
No,
at all.
He's wearing a t-shirt and like a zip down Bills thing.
Yeah, I don't get what kind of thing he's trying to. He had like a nice black jacket too, like black jacket, black tee, gold chain, because you got to have the contrast of the gold and the black, make it pop. But he's
hip. He's got a fresh cut.
They just had I don't know if you're a basketball guy, but I'd heard this, like Pat Riley was bitching about suits on the court. People don't wear they used to do that for football, where Hank Stram used wearing a suit. Why don't we go back to that, where Joe Brady's got to wear a suit on the sideline?
Oh my God, I would love that. I do think the Pat Riley iconic, like, dude's full suited up on the bench is just so awesome. Yeah, I saw that post about that, and somebody quote tweeted it with one of the scenes from The Wire where they're doing that basketball game, and I forget the one dude is rocking the suit, and everybody's giving him hell for it. They're like, it's 85 degrees. Who do you think you are, Pat Riley? Like, it's so good.
So we're here tonight talking about defensive free agency philosophy and different concepts for the Buffalo Bills. And I have to ask, because I think one of the driving things behind this show in general was the hire of Jim Leonhard as defensive coordinator and the fact that the Bills have officially moved on from the ethos of what Sean McDermott brought to the table when he inherited this team in 2017. You think about what a dramatic shift that was. He took the Bills from a place where they were a 3-4 defense under Rex Ryan and said, hey, guess what? I'm going to keep a lot of the same players. I'm going to jettison. I'm not even going to add a ton. I'm just going to jettison the guys who I think have a shitty attitude.
Yeah, because they were still built to be a 4-3 like they were under Jim Schwartz before Rex screwed it up.
Yes. And then he steps into this and inherits this roster and says, hey, guess what, guys? I'm going to take this and make the playoffs with it. Now, did they fall back asswards into it? Of course. Did it take one of the luckiest plays of all time, a fourth down touchdown catch from like 40 yards out?
Better lucky than good.
But exactly. So with that said, when you think about defensive free agency for the Bills, this whole thing gets skewed on the hill of we have a new guy calling the shots. And so with that, I want to know, what was your reaction the first moment? Like, where were you when you heard the news? Because Chris had a really funny take on how you should have reacted.
It was super good. So the Leonhard news, right?
Yeah.
It was a Saturday. I was getting into the car to go grocery shopping. And I hadn't been on my sister-in-law was in town and staying with us. So we had like activities planned for the day. I was going out to get groceries. We had done breakfast. I was going out to get groceries and I get in the car and I got a text saying from, I forget who, it might have been Kendall Mursky, who said like, dude, the Bills hired Leonhard. And I went and I looked and saw that it was true. And I put the car in reverse to like go to the grocery store, and I called my wife on the way and I was like, hey, and she was like, is everything okay? I was like, no, I'm going to get the stuff. I was like, but as soon as I get home, I have to do a show. And yeah, it was super hard for me to focus in the grocery store. I wanted Jim Leonhard for years. Like, it was awesome for me.
He's walking through the grocery store like Jeremy Renner in The Hurt Locker when he tries to come back to the U.S. and he can't focus on anything because he's like, I was just
dumping everything in the cart. Like, I was like, I gotta get back. Gotta get some stuff. I gotta get back. I like sincerely, I just, for me personally and individually, like Jim Leonhard's type of scheme ideology, Rex Ryan's scheme ideology too. That's what I gravitate towards. Like when my football mind really started to take shape, it was Rex Ryan's defense in Baltimore and Dick LeBeau's defense in Pittsburgh. So zone blitzes, odd fronts, 3-4s, like controlled chaos, organized chaos, like beat the hell out of you. That is the type of defense I want. And then I like Jim Leonhard a lot. I remember being a little kid and watching this little white safety number 18 get 11 interceptions his first year at Wisconsin. Then he came to the Bills and didn't really play. And then he went to the team that I would root for when the Bills were terrible because I loved Ed Reed. And that 2008 Ravens team was sick. And they go to the AFC Championship with a rookie Flacco. And Leonhard and Reed are sick together. And then Leonhard goes with Rex to the Jets. And so just stylistically, like who Leonhard is, what he is, his history, all resonated with me. But I also think his philosophy and identity is what the Bills have needed to get over the hump defensively for really the past like 3, 4, 5 years. And so I've been clamoring for him since around 2022, 2023. So, and it's hard to get like that one thing you want. Like that's like going into the draft and being like, I hope this one player ends up on my team. The odds of it happening are low. And so I was on cloud 9. I'm still on cloud 9. I don't love the majority of what's happened this offseason for the Bills, but my happiness with Jim Leonhard positively overshadows a lot of it for me.
I pictured you at the grocery store, kind of like Will Ferrell at the end of Old School, where he's like, yes, awesome. And then he speed punches the cereal. I feel you doing that with the Bills hiring Jim Leonhard.
I did it in the car. I was very pumped. I was, and it was weird too, because I was like alone in a car, so I didn't know, like, I felt like Will Ferrell in like Talladega Nights. I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. I was just like, so, man, yeah. And it was one of those things, again, like I've been clamoring for it for years, but I never thought it would happen, because for it to happen, McDermott would have to go. And/or McDermott would have to change his type of philosophy or identity defensively. And I thought both of those things had a low odds of happening. And then on top of that, Leonhard would have to want to come to the Bills. And I was just like, the odds of it, it's like, it's pie in the sky. It is what it is. And yeah, it was just pretty cool.
My thing was when the staff rounded out.
Yes.
I was like, wow, they really thought McDermott was the problem.
That's a great call.
Because McDermott's specialty, he's a defensive coordinator, specialty is safeties and DBs, and then you promote your GM, you promote your head coach, and then you go get a defensive coordinator who specializes in the same things that your head coach specialized in, safeties and DBs.
And they gutted that whole group, like just everything from essentially top to bottom, from the front to the back, philosophy, identity, scheme. I think there's some more similarities that we'll see that, you know, it's not complete like fish out of water and changing like it's kind of being made out to be. But yeah, I love the Jim Leonhard move. I love the Jay Valai move.
Well, you and I both loved that hire. Yes. We talked about it. So we didn't talk about it together. Yeah. And then I went back and watched one of your podcasts and was like, oh, he loves Jay Valai too. This is why I like Anthony, where I'm like, I like where his head's at because he knows what's going on down there. And I go listen to be a part of Brent Venables' defense.
Yes, exactly it.
That defense is chaos.
And his defense, and this goes back to when he was the defensive coordinator at Clemson for like 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Their defenses year in and year out were sick. And yes, it was like, oh, they had Deshaun Watson. Oh, they had Trevor Lawrence. It was like the defense was amazing year in and year out.
People.
Yes, and the way they attacked and played on the front foot. And so getting Valai, who was the DB's coach there and the co-defensive coordinator, I was like, oh my God, this just connects so great to what Leonhard is going to be and what he wants to be.
And so,
Sophie St. George for Wendy's double stack. Smash the thumbs up. Drew, Chris, and Ant are top shelf. Bills info and entertainment. Go Bills.
What I love is people who watch this show, especially those who watch it with you, they were like, the three of us need to be a show, like, regularly. And I don't argue, because you bring an intelligence to this podcast that it lacks otherwise.
Oh,
and then it's just me over here, just being a gorilla dancing in a suit in front of people, but it's okay because the gorilla likes to dance.
The gorilla likes to dance.
The gorilla really likes to dance.
I'll go anywhere for a whiskey sour and one pie pizza, so it's pretty easy to get me over here.
So you had, Chris, if you want to throw it up there for the people, Anthony Prohaska had this tweet.
Oh, let me get it. Hold on.
Yeah, there we go. Production. See, finally, I'm not the only one who's letting this thing down because I've had a rough night, folks. It's been bad. He's gotten to see what it is. There's no professionalism behind the scenes here. Anthony tweeted out that Joe Brady, I'm looking at the Bills' defensive roster with Jim Leonhard. We have a lot of guys in our defense that fits the vision we ultimately want to be already. So it's not like, hey, we have to scrap everything and start over with our personnel. We have a lot of guys already on this roster that can do a lot of the things we're going to ask people to do. We'll see how true this ends up being.
This is me saying this now, no longer a quote from Joe Brady.
The Bills' defense needed multiple upgrades already, and now they still need those upgrades, plus need to add new body types, skill sets, and play styles. Hopefully this isn't code for, quote, we don't have any money, so we're not adding much, but don't worry because we're fine. Because if that's what you're going for, it's not good. So when you think about that and then the philosophy behind where you're hoping they're going to go with free agency this year, I look at this and it gets me thinking, how palatable is it going to be to this fan base if you spend another offseason pouring more assets into your defense? And then I get mad because I go, you're telling me that you gave Josh Allen one premier talent. You gave him a Cole Beasley for a mid-level starter contract. You gave him a John Brown once. And you gave him a Stephon Diggs. And then when that didn't work, you gave him a great offensive line and then said, hey, we're going to get a running back. And that'll take the pressure off you. But when you need to perform, now you've got to do it with guys like Mac Hollins. He's going to be your alpha. And you go, wait, shit. All right. But because he's Josh Allen, he goes out there and makes chicken salad out of chicken shit. Then you get to last year and it gets worse, where his playmakers just are not available. And you go, well, it's a good thing they run the ball a ton because that's the thing. It's just the thing. And we have to hope that this continues. Seeing that, hearing all the talk on the offensive side of the ball about how Brandon Beane allegedly wanted to get better. And as we talked about in the pre-record, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of mixed signals being passed about what the Bills' offensive philosophy is going to be when it comes to the draft and free agency. You're talking about another year where the Bills have to go sink assets and money into the defense. Why? Why do we have to keep doing this? And at what point is it just going to be okay? Is it going to be passable? And can the coaches do the heavy lifting? Like, I get it. On offense, you have a cheat code. His name is Josh Allen. You can get away with being cheap at wide receiver because you have that guy. You can't do this forever. And then you look at the teams that win a Super Bowl and you go, guess what they did? They went cheap at quarterback and yet had playmakers and they won a Super Bowl. It's hard to ignore that. So 2 weeks ago, I invoked the name Lorenzo Alexander. Invoked the name Lorenzo Alexander because I think that he points to what I think this team is going to have to be on defense a little bit when it comes to free agency. Everyone wants to see a giant splash. Everyone would love to see things. But at the same time, he was a guy who just needed a new scheme and a new staff to really flourish. What do you think about that dynamic? And do you believe that they'll spend heavily on this side of the ball?
I mean, I think they have to, just because they don't have enough bodies. Like, regardless of if Jim Leonhard was coming in, if another defensive coordinator was coming in, if Sean McDermott was staying, they had to make moves defensively. I talked about this all last offseason, which I was like,
it's hard not to when you watch your team go into the playoffs and you go, oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah.
We're doing the thing where we give up 20, 30 points.
But even aside from that, it was more just like I saw the contracts last offseason. I was like, hey, a bunch of these dudes aren't going to be available on defense next year, so you better hope like Dalton Kincaid is good. and Josh Palmer is good, and Keon Coleman is good. And then I was like, the offensive line, you're not going to have 2 starters. And I was like, but if you looked at the defense, just from a volume perspective, I was already looking at it like, probably not Milano's not coming back. No,
do us a favor, grab our lads and throw it up there on that TV.
And then same thing, I was like, you better hope like TJ Sanders works and Landon Jackson works and all these guys. I was like, because you have all these moves coming down the pike where you're going to need bodies. And that's also why I thought the scheme change wasn't as drastic. Because either way, they were going to have to add bodies. Even if Sean McDermott and the whole staff stayed, you still needed to add a bunch of dudes on defense. Now, you just need to still add dudes, but you need different body types. You need different skill sets. And regardless...
The archetype changes.
Yes, but there's still some things that are still present, right? Like, even if McDermott's defense changed or stayed, you still needed a true edge one as a pass rusher. I'm still going to continue to say Greg Rousseau is more of a Robin than he is a Batman as a pass rusher. So you either need to get a Batman or you need to get another Robin or a Nightwing or something. You need to add more twos to that.
You need to build the Teen Titans is what you have to
build.
Build.
That's fair. And that's a good one. And then you still needed a starting, even if McDermott's, again, his defense stayed, you needed a starting linebacker opposite of Bernard. You needed a starting safety opposite of Bishop. You needed a corner 3. You needed more interior defensive line depth. You needed more edge depth after your top 2 guys. Those needs are still present now, but now you're just looking at some different body types, some different skill sets, some different play styles. And I think it is more palatable for fans now because they think, oh, well, there's a new defensive coordinator, so of course we got to make some moves. But those moves had to be made regardless because of the contract situation and how they built this roster.
So I think about guys that we already have on the roster. Michael Hoecht. Now, the way that he tore his Achilles is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And you talk about unfortunate because this defense with him might be different. Like, he was going to be relied on as an X factor in the defense. Also, he's on a 3-year contract. So even if this year he's slow coming off the blocks, we still get another year of his services by contract. One of the things, though, that I love is that it wasn't an underrated. He was paid fairly for what he had been in the NFL.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, when he got on the field for the Buffalo Bills, he had juice. He popped on tape. When you watch that Carolina game, he just terrorized the offensive line for an entire game. And then in Kansas City, he was all over the place right up until he got hurt.
Yeah.
It's one of the crazier things where I go, oh, you made a signing, and I literally see it. Because I'm used to the Trent Murphy signings. Yeah. I'm used to all these things that don't exactly equate to success
or they're the same type of edge. It's like, hey, you're long and you're a power compression guy. Got it. Like Von Miller was the departure, but everybody else like was just the same type of dude over and over.
Well, and then they sold me Joey Bosa, and everyone said this is going to be great. And for a while it was, and he had his masterpiece against Kansas City, and then after that he was just nothing but a gross liability against the run.
He was the same thing he's been before. When Joey Bosa's healthy, he's one of the top 10 edges in all of football. And then he broke his hand. And couldn't play with one arm or couldn't play with one hand. And then he got hurt elsewhere. And by the time the playoffs came around, he was too banged up and ineffective. And I always remember, too, with Sean McDermott, I forget what game it was.
The most healthy he's been. I was like, that's dog shit.
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
That's terrible for you.
I remember thinking to him, too, there was a play where he couldn't make a tackle because his hand had the club on it. And they would, like, the broadcast angle cut to McDermott. And he was like, you got to wrap up. And I want to be like, he's got a club on his hand, Sean. Like, he can't tackle anyone. Like, why are you yelling at him for not wrapping? He's playing with a broken hand and a club for a hand.
So when I think about what the Bills are going to try to add this year, philosophically, it's got to be something that's like the Michael Hoecht signing, where you're going to go find a guy who is going to get the contract he probably deserves, not a guy who's undersold. Right, because that almost doesn't happen now with the ever-expanding cap. If GMs even believe for a second that, hey, maybe we don't want to sell early on a guy, they have too many mechanisms at their disposal to keep that guy. And so with that in mind, there's not a lot out there on the market. Chris, if you want to go up there and go ahead, pull up the free agent tracker and just show me edges. I think back to your tweet, and I think about Hoyt, and I think about I want this tweener. Because in a 4-3 defense, being a tweener is bad. In a 3-4 defense, being a tweener is actually kind of maybe the sweet spot.
You need more hybridized type of players.
I want a guy who can do a multitude of things. A guy who can reduce down inside, and play with size and just be a little bit faster, but also who might be able to drop into coverage if I need it. I need that. And so where that might be if you're a 4-3 defense, it's almost like a slur against that player when you call him a tweener. Now it's almost a benefit. And so I go ahead and I look at the free agency market and I say, okay.
I thought Hassan Reddick was with the Jets.
He went to, he was supposed to be an answer for Tampa Bay last year, and he was not.
He was not. So I don't think, when I think about your tweet, I don't think that they're saying they're not going to add much, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're trying to figure out where can I find 2 more Michael Hoechts. Just guys who I can pay what is a fair contract, who I'm going to get solid production from. Like, that's it. And, you know, Jesse Minter, new Ravens head coach, said at the Combine this week, this is an offensive line and defensive line driven league. The Bills haven't exactly nailed down the ladder, but it's not like they haven't been trying.
No, which is what makes it so fucking frustrating. Like, every year it's defensive line. But again, it's the same type of body types. It's the same type of guys. And not even if it's not the same type of guys, I think there's times where they just bet on the wrong horse and their defensive line has been a mess for a very long time.
So I guess the thing I want to say is, if they were going to fix anything on defense, they almost have to start by investing in that defensive line, right?
Yeah, I think you need a true nose. Like an ass-kicking, run-defending nose.
And this is why I was mad to see today that Tavondre Sweat got traded to the Jets for Jermaine Johnson. It's not like we had a Jermaine Johnson that we didn't care about that we could just trade away.
Yeah.
The Bills don't have many tradable players. The ones who are quality we need. Yeah. So for those of you at home postulating about what deals can the Bills make, let me be the first to tell her, maybe hopefully not the first. Hopefully your common sense told it to you before I'm the one saying it. We can't afford to give up much. Like, if we have good players who other teams might want, they're not like we're not going to give them up.
Yeah, we need those good players.
It's Dawkins, it's Spencer Brown, it's Josh Allen, it's Khalil Shakir, it's Christian Benford. It's guys who they are your tentpole players. Yeah. So then you take a look at this and you say, okay, I've seen the tweets, I've seen the rumors, a Bills-Raiders trade. A Bills-Raiders trade, because I've gone on record and said that if you really want to make a splash, you want to fix the problem, quote unquote, it's going to take a trade. You're not going to get it done through free agency. There's no one out there on the market besides Trey Hendrickson, which is only going to push him out of your price range, who you can buy off the market.
I think Boye Mafe would be sweet.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Depending on how much it costs.
But what I will say is the idea of Max Crosby being traded to the Bills is like Generation Z talking about retirement. Okay, guys, let's get in here. It's a beautiful thing. It's a fun thing, but we're all better off if we just accept that it's a pipe dream and it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I think I'm the last generation who can even think about retirement, and everyone else, like, good luck to you.
Yeah, it's rough out here.
It's rough out here.
Rough in these streets.
The cost would just be too much for the Bills to absorb to try to trade for a Max Crosby, given all the other holes that you just got done talking about.
Yeah, I think, and especially if you, like, they're rumored to kind of want the Parsons deal that Green Bay gave up. Apparently, Seattle offered 2 firsts to the Raiders at the deadline, and the Raiders turned it down.
So then if they want 2+, that's a problem.
And it's not even just the picks, because I'm not opposed to, it's the Family Guy joke of like, oh man, like a boat's a boat, but a mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. And then so Lois is like, so let's take the boat. And he's like, we'll take the box. Like, so it's like, yeah, any one of those picks could turn out to be Max Crosby. Just take Max Crosby.
Well, even in the Max Crosby draft, it's worth noting that the Raiders took Clelin Ferrell, number 4 overall, at a time when Clelin Ferrell himself was not sitting in his draft chair because he was shocked. He didn't know he was going to be the 4th pick.
Such a shock, yeah, out of Clemson. That was nuts. Crosby's amazing, and I would take him in a heartbeat, but I think what he costs financially plus the capital, yeah, they're just not in that space. Like, you need, right now, looking at the defense, and again, there would have been similar needs if everything stayed status quo, but you need a true nose, you need a 4-eye, you need a starting edge, another depth edge, and then depending on how healthy Michael Hoecht is, right? You might need 2 depth edges, or you need a starter and then a depth. Some depend on him there. You need a starting linebacker opposite of Terrell Bernard, and it has to be a hybrid guy. Like it has to be, I'm not even using these guys as examples. It has to be either Leo Chenal or Caden Ellis. Like that's it. It has to be one of those guys. You need one of those guys. Then you need a starting safety, and you need a third safety, and you need a corner 3, and then you also maybe need more rotational guys, because not only do you need a starting 4-eye, TJ Sanders is probably going to have to be a 4-eye in the odd front looks, and that doesn't bode well for him. And even in the even front stuff, he didn't look great last year, so he might be a lost cause. What are you getting from Landon Jackson? Yeah, I just think there's too many needs. But I don't hate the idea of like, okay, like, so what? So you don't have a third and a fourth line who can score, but you have you have a killer top 6, and your bottom 6 is garbage. Okay, that just means that nobody on the top 6 can get hurt. And we ran into this already. Let's put all our eggs in the Von Miller basket. Yep. And it would be the billsiest thing for Max Crosby, the guy who plays every snap and goes 100 miles an hour 100% of the time. He'd get hurt like week 2 and be out for the year. Like, so if you're going to put all your eggs in that basket, nothing can happen to that basket or you're fucked. And I just think it's too risky.
We've already seen it. Yes. And I'm hoping they've learned their lesson. It's funny, Sophie St. George, I'm Gen X. I'm retired after 39 years full-time, thank God. And Chris goes, I'm meeting with a financial advisor next week. Notice Chris is older than me, and he hasn't yet talked to a financial advisor. He doesn't have his financial affairs in order. People, he has great hair, but terrible his finances.
I'm
Wu-Tang Financial, diversify your bonds.
Or I am at the
Wu-Tang.
They're throwing me because the company I work for, I'm now at 6 months. So it's like, all right, now you get 401k because you've been here for 6 months.
Nice.
So I also have to roll over my stuff from Sumitomo. So I gotta figure that out too.
Chris?
Financial Hour with Aunt Drew and Chris.
Diversify your bonds.
Wu-Tang, diversify your bonds. I want to talk about Boy Mafia. Boy, doesn't matter.
You talk about boy and man Mafia.
Brian Webster wants Von Miller back in the comments.
What I would tell you is last year we paid Joey Bosa $12 million in a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. If you told me that I couldn't spend a little bit more on an average annual value and get a guy like Boy Mafia, I would. Now,
I just don't know if he's going to get. I think he could push 15 to 20 depending on how the market sees him.
But depending on the market, and this is where this weekend at the Combine is so important, because right now Brandon Beane's going to go find out who else wants it on Boy Mafia. Because when you think about Mafia's situation, it's weird in the sense that he was a guy on a really productive defense who didn't get the snap share.
This year he didn't.
This year he did not.
He got bumped to almost the fourth guy. It was essentially Lawrence and Nwosu and then Derek Hall. And this is the first wave were Nwosu and Lawrence. The second wave was Derek Hall and Mafia, but Mafia was essentially kind of bumped to like the fourth guy out of that rotation. And still had like 50 plus pressures. And still their defense was so crazy.
50 pressures by a guy who is your fourth runner.
Insane.
And what's weird about it is that 2 years ago he had 9 sacks.
He had a productive year 2, a good year 3, and so you thought, oh man, year 4 he's going to take off even more.
But that was the Greg Rousseau experience, and we paid Greg Rousseau.
I don't think Greg Rousseau's wins off the edge were to the same quality.
No, of course not. And that's why I'm confident about this for being a fit for the Buffalo Bills. If they wanted to say, hey, look, we're willing to take a flyer on a guy who we don't think has seen nearly his ceiling, and we think we can do the right things to build an infrastructure where he can play every snap and develop into the player that we think he can be, it would be here in Buffalo where there's no competition there in front of him because he had stiff competition.
And his skill set would be so unique at the Bills, like juice, explosion, burst. Like no one has that on the Bills edge grouping.
And that makes me realize, like when I think about what else is out there, I think about what we paid Rousseau already. And you look at Boy Mafia and you realize 19% pass rush win rate, which maybe I think that was reported a little high. I think he actually came in around like 14 when I was doing my research and then came back and double checked it. But there is a potential to turn some of those into sacks. Like if you pair him with Greg Rousseau and you say, hey, the two of you together, Mr. Potentials, some of you have to eventually close as edge rushers.
I like Greg Rousseau a lot. I don't think he has the pass rusher potential that is still getting taught. I think what we've seen from Greg Rousseau as a pass rusher is what we're going to continue to see from
Greg Rousseau. But that's okay. But if I could have someone to clean that up That would be nice.
Well, you could be either or. I think the rush lanes and angles are going to change a bit under Leonhard, so you should see some more closing. But yeah, like Mafia understands angles and how to be the high guy or the low guy. I think Rousseau understands it as well. I think
also his tackles and tackles for loss are big for me because
he's a big penetration guy and he plays the run.
And so the idea was in the Sean McDermott defense, we have to have penetrating defensive tackles and we're going to get blown off the ball and that's fine.
Yep.
But we're going to have ends that compress the pocket, crush things down, muddy things up behind the line of scrimmage regularly. Here's a guy who could still give you that, but with more juice than anything we've had as a D2.
Yeah, he'll and especially for Jim Leonhard's defense, where you're gonna get a lot of movement up front. He's gonna have run blitzes and stunts and games and simulated pressures, creepers. So you need guys like somebody who can knife inside a gap, jump 2 gaps. You need somebody with some lateral explosion, some agility. You need somebody who can rush around the arc, someone who can stab inside, someone who can go through somebody a little bit, someone who can drop into coverage. And I think Mafia ticks a lot of those boxes. You know, NFL Combine stuff, his testing metrics for all the explosion stuff, the broad, the vert, he's like high 90 percentile for all this stuff. High 90 percentile for the 40-yard dash for like his spot. And granted, he's a smaller edge, so it makes sense. But he's all juice. He's all explosion. He can jump off the line and beat you around the arc, or if you try to overset and beat him out there and cut him off, he'll just put his outside foot in the ground and cut inside you. What I think hurts him.
And that's the Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper thing that I think, or at least it's a little bit of that I think that our defensive coordinator got to rely on.
I think he's more, if you're going between those two guys, he's more Bonito than Cooper.
Sure.
But Bonito has more bend to him. Mafia has some bend too. Bonito just has a lot of bend.
Yeah.
Bonito also has more length. I think the biggest issue with not seeing the sack numbers translate for Mafia is because he's got short arms.
Yep.
So he's got to win clean and get clean, because if not, if someone's on him a little bit or the QB moves, he doesn't have that arm length to kind of grab somebody and bring him in. How many times have we seen some sacks for Rousseau where he technically hasn't beaten his man?
He just gets there.
Yeah, but he's got a pterodactyl arm length, so he's like, okay, I'm just going to grab you. Like Mafia doesn't have that. So that's one of the things that's why I think you see the high pressure numbers from him, but you don't necessarily see the translation to sacks.
Now, let's say we don't have the money to go chase a boy Mafia, and they decide, hey, we can't afford that because we've invested elsewhere. We did the wide receiver thing that everyone's been screaming about. Now we go, hey.
Oh, it'd be this guy that you have here.
Yeah, it's cheap move. What about Jacob Martin out there?
Did you know that he was on my list in the film?
Do you know that I watched your shows on him and I couldn't wait to bring you in here and talk about this? I know you're a huge fan of Jacob Martin.
Yeah.
The thing I want to ask is, when it comes to the rest of what Jacob Martin's going to have around him here in Buffalo, because what he did there is great. So when you're breaking down his tape and you're saying Jacob Martin's he's this explosive player, look at this, he has velociraptor tendencies.
He does have some velociraptor tendencies. I love it.
And so then you take a look and say, hey, also, can I continue to bet on that here in Buffalo?
Yeah.
And what kind of a contract do you think he'd draw?
Yeah. I think he gets part of the reason why I like him is I think he's a value signing. Like, I don't think he's somebody who's going to get, I think you get Jacob Martin like relatively for like 1 year, $5 million. And I think that's amazing. And he produced.
How many void years?
No void years. Well, actually, I don't know. With this regime, maybe 6. I think he's a guy who produces like a top 2 edge with Washington. Like, you look at a lot of his advanced metrics, even if you're not looking at the tape, the advanced metrics, he's top half of the league or like top 40 for edges in a bunch of stuff that really matters. And seeing him produce at that level on a defense that was kind of slow and injured and picked on and all this stuff, I think he'd come to Buffalo and he can hold things down a little bit for you from a cost-effective standpoint for the first couple weeks. And then if he becomes like your edge 3 or your edge 4 once Michael Hoecht comes back, I think you start to have a good rotation with what he can do from a moves perspective, the violence he plays with. You could kick him inside in sub packages and have him play different spots, even when you go 4 down front or odd front stuff. He's also pretty decent in coverage. Like, he's got some wherewithal. He's got a really good clip that I broke down of a 3rd down against Denver on that Sunday night game where he's showing pressure on the line. He drops off, picks up Cortland Sutton, bashes him and knocks him offline, and then Bo Nix has to throw it incomplete because he disrupted the play. Like, I just think he offers a lot for what he's going to cost. He's also a little older. He's like 32 or 31. I don't think he's going to break the bank. I think he's a cost-effective guy that you get in, is built to be like a really good edge 3 or an edge 4, but he can hold it down for you while Hoyt potentially gets healthy. But then he's the guy too. Like, so if you're getting Jacob Martin as your guy on the edge, then I'm expecting, okay, you signed Kobe Bryant at safety, or you signed Brian Cook, or you signed Jalen Thompson, or you signed Leo Chenal or Caden Ellis. Like, that means
you did more.
LaViscus Chenal.
That means you spent. That means you spent. If you're not spending money there, that means you spent some of that money elsewhere at receiver, linebacker, something. But either way, like, I think, like, if you got me Mafia and Martin, and I had a top 4 edge room of Rousseau, Hoyt, Mafia, Martin, I love that edge room in this defense. I'm very happy with it, and I'm comfortable with it.
And is that enough if they didn't invest? Let's say they don't invest in these other positions, and they say, hey, we'll go to the draft to fix those holes. And you just have a really set defensive line. Do you think that's enough for the Bills to win in 2026?
If they just set the defensive line in free agency?
Because that's the problem. You're talking about opportunity cost.
If they win, sure. Like, if you tell me, like, the only thing they do in free agency is...
Hey, I paid Mafia. I went and got your boy.
I was going to say...
And so now...
If you tell me they got Roy Lopez, Boye Mafe, and Jacob Martin, I am very happy with the defensive
And now
line.
we filled the rest of our holes through the draft.
Sure.
We went out and drafted a wide receiver with our first pick because we couldn't trade for one because of all the cap space we lost to the defensive players we signed.
Yeah.
You would accept that. And I feel like a lot of fans would, because if you watch these playoff games, it's not for lack of talent that the Bills aren't scoring. Like, the Bills are outscoring everybody.
Yeah.
But the defense is allowing ridiculous scoring.
The issue with the defensive line for the fans isn't that they're spending on the defense. It's that they keep spending because they keep missing. The guys that they keep spending on keep not being players you should spend on.
Well, and we're about to talk about a couple of them.
Oh, give me a
So as we shift away from the edge room, let's talk about defensive tackle.
Oh, my
In
boy.
fact, let's talk about defensive tackles for a minute. And before we talk about your boy, your guy, this guy that Anthony has coveted for years.
2 years I've been talking about him.
What I need to know is the Bills are going into the season with 5 defensive tackles under contract, and I want to know how some of these fit into the scheme, because it impacts how they can talk themselves into avoiding things in free agency.
Yeah.
How they can talk themselves into not spending money.
Yeah.
Ed Oliver, elite when healthy. For the first time in his career, he missed most of the season.
Yeah.
Like, he's had injuries before, but never like this.
Yeah, never like this.
And yet when he played, he was the man. It was heartbreaking to watch.
Sucked.
Fidarian Mathis. Just
Fidarian Mathis.
you just literally like threw a rock out there on the field and it didn't move, and you're like, all right, well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Super good depth guy, good rotational guy. Happy he's back. Cool.
Dwayne Carter, a guy who I love. I have to go out there and say this. I love Dwayne Carter, not as a football player, but as a human being.
Okay.
He shows up to the veterans event that Reed throws, comes out and hangs out with us while we're in the Cook area.
Well, that makes me feel bad for what I'm going to say then.
Yeah. He's a great human being.
Awesome. Makes sense. And that was a lot of the...
But he was already on thin ice.
Fair. That was a lot of the talk with him coming out of Duke. I remember Graham Barton talked about like how much of a leader he was. Like, he's by all accounts a tremendous teammate,
He's a
tremendous
great
person.
human being, but he was already on thin ice.
Did he
with the
wrestle in
last scheme.
college?
No.
Oh, I don't think he did, yeah. Fair question.
What's his upshot into the season?
I don't want to talk about it now.
Well, now that you told me that you like him.
I was down on Dwayne Carter going into this past year, even to the point that I thought if Larry Ogunjobi wasn't suspended, I thought it was...
He should have been suspended for the year based on the way he played. He was a gross liability. We could have gotten our $6 million back. I hate everything about Larry Ogunjobi.
He actually had a bunch of run stops and did well against the run, which is ironic. Conversation for another time. But yeah, no, he wasn't a great signing.
I want him packed into a star-spangled cannon and shot across the parking lot of one Bills Drive like a clown.
Damn, that's so mean. But fair. That's also very descriptive. I thought Dwayne Carter was kind of on the roster bubble last offseason.
Yes.
After his first year. I just thought he had an unproductive first year. Yeah, I know he got hurt a little bit, but his performance before he got hurt wasn't anything to write home about. He flashed a little bit against Houston, that game in Houston, like week 5 or whatever. But I also think a lot of his struggles were him and Austin Johnson were a funny pairing. The Bills took Austin Johnson, who was a career 1 tech, and they were like, hey, we want you to lose a little weight so you can play the 1 and the 3. And then they took Dwayne Carter, who was his best thing was penetration at Duke, and they were like, hey, we want you to gain more weight so you can play 1 and 3. And they essentially made both of them useless.
That I hope is something that disappears from this regime once Sean McDermott exited the building.
AJ Epinesa was another guy too, like that.
So I have some thoughts about that we'll talk about at the end of the show. Okay. Some thoughts about just the AJ Epinesa and also a guy currently on the roster who might get stuck if the thought process was the same. A guy who might be stuck in a role.
I think, wrap it up on Carter real fast because I know you want to move on. I think Carter has a shot at like the 4-eye and then defensive tackle and sub package stuff. I'm just not counting on him. One, because his performance hasn't been good. Two, now he's coming off of an Achilles, and everybody knows like the first year back, you're a shell of yourself still. So it's really that second year. I just think it's a really uphill battle, and he has not proven to be effective in any consistent manner.
The sophomores is the thing that everybody wants to know about. Sanders and Walker. And I love how he's looking at like
Rich Perks put it in the comments. Where is it? I'm incredibly excited for Deion Walker's development.
What I love is that Anthony, when I asked the question about, he's like, oh, Jesus, I got to take a drink. All right, so let's start with Sanders. TJ Sanders, what is his upshot in this defensive scheme?
Oh, in this scheme, it's tough, right? Because they're still going to play 4-down stuff. They are going to play 4-down. Like Leonard's base defense is an odd front. It's a tight front, which means you have a nose tackle, and you have 2 defensive ends on the inside shoulder of the tackles. So you got a 4-eye, a 0, and a 4-eye. And he's an odd front guy, but his nickel defense and sub package mainly like works out of a nickel defense, a 4-2-5, at least is what it was in Wisconsin. And then they ran a bunch of 4-down stuff in Denver. So you're still going to see TJ Sanders be a regular like 4-down interior defensive lineman like he was with the Bills, or maybe not so much with the Bills because he played defensive end a ton this past year because of all the injuries. But
which is pathetic.
It's rough. I'm just concerned for Sanders because I think he's really meant to live as a 3-tech in a 1-gapping penetrating even front defense. I don't think he's a great fit for the Bills' odd front. But again, if you're going to use a lot of movement and slants and do a bunch of stuff up front, he is good at that. He is a guy that you can line up in a 4-eye on the inside shoulder of a tackle and have him jump a gap inside and slant and pull somebody with him. I know his play was hindered as a rookie because he was playing out of position and he was hurt. It was almost kind of like a lost year for him. But even when he was out there were still things like, I know you're playing a different position, but you're getting bumped like 4 gaps down against the run and getting thrown around. And there's like a lot of ineffectiveness. So I'm hopeful for him because I did think he did positive things on tape in college.
Meanwhile, your boy Alfred Collins is out there being touted as a star, and they're going, oh, look at Alfred Collins. He's so great. It's the Bills could have had that.
I mean, he also offers you nothing as a pass rusher. So it depends on what you're comfortable with. Like, yeah, like if I wanted Alfred Collins knowing what he was, where I was like, I want to play him at 1-tech. Nope. God bless you. Nice. No one's going to move him. And he's going to eat bodies and keep Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano clean. I don't care if he doesn't get pressures. I don't care if he doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I just want him to use his huge hands and arms and body and to eat blockers and keep the fast guys clean and go from there. Yeah, but they are obviously, yeah. But which is weird too, because I'm going to keep spinning this story, not even spinning it because it's true. Tyreek Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State last year, who is a 1-tech, a plugger in every sense of the word.
The Bills wanted him.
Yes, apparently, and he has some athleticism and some juice, but he's not a pass rusher, but he has some burst. He can knock you back a bit. He said the day after he got drafted, the Bills told him if he was there in round 1, they were picking him. The Lions took him right before. And he's the antithesis of TJ Sanders. So they lose out on Williams, and then it was almost like they were like, screw it, let's go back to what we've always done. Let's trade up for TJ Sanders. And I was like, because when they traded up, my thought was, well, if you wanted Williams,
you must want Alfred Collins.
Yeah, exactly. And then they were like TJ Sanders, and I was like, oh, all right, fine. And then they took Walker, who was huge, but in the same mold of a finesse player. So yeah, we'll talk about Walker in a bit, but Sanders is a big question mark for me.
So then Walker. Let's talk about Walker because Walker was supposed to be well, I know you don't want to talk about Walker. Walker is the guy who everybody looks at as, well, he's going to evolve. And in a penetrating scheme, you think now that you've watched what you've watched from him, the sky's the limit. He's going to grow. And the thing you have to caution people about is that growth is not linear. In the NFL, growth is not linear. You know who said that? Or at least who I saw say it. It's like when I said my dad says, "Hey,
your teeth aren't linear."
Thing. My teeth are definitely not linear. See, Anthony's always he's discouraged by how negative our podcast is and how mean
That's not negative. That's mean and uncalled for. Well,
it's hilarious.
You tried to mock him earlier for the financial stuff.
Of course.
So maybe that is.
Of course, I'm gonna make fun of him because he's not taking care of his family. He makes fun of my teeth.
He should be taking care of his family still, just because he's not talking to a financial
We're not
advisor.
nice people here, Anthony.
Damn, bro, that's so mean.
You came into the Shark Tank, literally.
I made him such a
Look at
mistake.
these teeth. Shark bite.
Yeah, like Jaws from James Bond. Oh man, so mean.
So with that said,
your teeth aren't linear. That was so mean.
I look at Walker and I go, I love what you did, but also how do you grow past this? And I don't know that he does.
Yeah, I like what Deion Walker did as a rookie. He far surpassed my expectations. One, I just didn't even know if he was going to play. I thought he was going to have to take like a medical red shirt because his back, he has like a syndrome. And then
Sophie St. George, I was stoked to see that Walker had 0 back problems last season.
I'm right there with you. Like, I thought that was going to be a big issue. I think what helped
Thomas
him a lot,
Bussey, bad teeth gang. Hell yeah.
I think what helped him a lot was, I remember seeing him on the first day of camp. Like I said it when they drafted him. I was like, he's going to have to significantly change his body composition just to survive in the NFL, but also to like help his back a little. And he changed his body comp a lot. Like he put a lot of effort and work in, slimmed down a bunch. It was awesome to see. My issue with him like isn't that he played bad. Again, he surpassed my expectations even as a run defender. I just found it funny, like he's getting knocked off the ball and getting moved around a bunch and nobody's commenting on that. But then like he'll make one splash play in a game and everybody's like, oh my God, the dude is the truth. And it's like, did you not see him just get, because again, he's the significant part of the problem of the Bills defense last year was the spine. They couldn't stop the run. They were getting bullied and pushed around. He was one of the main guys in the spine. And again, I don't necessarily think this is his fault. He's 6'7". Everybody on the interior is going to get under him. Yep. He can't bend.
You can't anchor deep enough
impossible.
To get under that.
And not only is he that tall,
in football and in wrestling, low man wins. If you're 6'7", you will never be the low man.
No, and on top of that, he doesn't have a lot of lower body bend. So it's going to be tough for him to anchor, but he's got some good block recognition, and despite the fact that he's a mountain, he plays a finesse game, not in a negative way, but I just mean he's a penetrator, he's a gap shooter. I think he can moonlight a bit at nose in this defense. I would like to see him more at a 4-eye. And so get me a true nose. You can do one of two things. You can get me, and I'll give it in examples to make it easier for people. Give me Roy Lopez at defensive tackle, and then Jonathan Franklin Myers to play 4-eye. So that way you can do Walker at both. Or you can sign 2 interior guys at nose. You could give me Roy Lopez and Kairos Tonga, and then you could have Walker live full-time at 4-eye, and then still play the interior stuff in your sub packages. I think if you get a true nose, one, it's needed because you need an ass kicker and a stone against the run, and Walker is not that. 2, if you get that ass kicker on the interior, instead of having Walker live as your like starting nose and have to do all that dirty work run defense stuff, you can take Deion Walker and do what they did in Kentucky, which is like, guess where Deion Walker is? He's over the center. Now he's outside the tackle. Now he's inside the tackle. Now he's over the guard. Like, I want to lean into more of his skill set and him being kind of a unicorn. And I don't want him to have to live in that world as trying to have to be a stone and mitigate displacement.
It's almost what the Chiefs have done with Chris Jones.
Yeah, and you kind of move him around and do all these games and penetration. And again, as a nose, I think he can moonlight there, and especially if you're gonna move him and play games, and you're gonna do the Jim Leonhard Wisconsin stuff where I'm over the center, psych, I'm shooting the B gap, and I'm doing all these things. I think that can work. I just don't think he's built as a stone to, hey, we're gonna drop in and mitigate displacement.
So your boy Roy Lopez, tell everybody why you love him, because McDermott loved the guys who were small, got blown off the ball. And
didn't want Poona Ford. Somebody didn't want Poona Ford.
Spotrac, $6.3 million. Market value for Roy Lopez.
One of my coworkers came to me.
One
of my coworkers came to me and said the reason I like your podcast is because of the time I listened to. He's like, the first time I listened to it, it was you talking about how you were once the same size as Poona Ford. I was like, yeah, I was like, I used to be under 6 feet tall and also 340 pounds.
5'10", 300.
I used to be 340 pounds and under 6 feet tall. And here's Poona Ford just out there being just, what do you even call it? A fire hydrant?
That's exactly what he's a fire hydrant.
I'm just gonna sit here.
He's a fire hydrant. I think Roy Lopez is kind of in that mold. I wanted him last year. Ironically, I watched a bunch of I've liked the Cardinals defense for a couple of years schematically and what they've done. But last year, I wanted Roy Lopez a ton. He went to Detroit on a 1-year deal. I also liked some of the stuff that Kyrus Tonga did, who was also on that Cardinals team. He went to the Patriots on a 1-year deal and played pretty well for the Patriots. Both of those guys are free agents. Lopez, to me, just ticks the box for what you need as a nose. And it's funny, last year when I wanted him, it was more of a projection because I was like, well, the Bills run an even front, so he's going to be more of a one-tech, but he can still do it. This is even easier now because he did a bunch of nose and odd front stuff with the Cardinals 2 years ago. He's just what I wanted in a nose. He's an ass kicker. He does not get moved. He beats you up, and he wants to like be mean, and he is like he's just violent on the interior.
Can you imagine what it must be like getting ready for a game to be that
like
guy?
it just I
love John Henderson.
Oh god,
I loved who's the guy who went on to play for the Bills?
Stroud.
Yeah,
Marcus Stroud. When those two played for Jacksonville, it was some of the best football I've ever seen in my life because I love line play. So I watched that and I go, holy shit, John Henderson is out here just manhandling people.
Yeah, and before the game, we'll get the littlest dude on the training staff.
Punch me in the mouth.
Yeah, that's not hard enough, Joe.
I gotta taste blood.
Slap him in the face. Yeah, Roy Lopez is just he's a stone. Drop him into the center of your defensive line. He's not going to get moved. He's also good at understanding and recognizing run game schemes, whether it's gap stuff, whether it's zone stuff. He can penetrate a little bit. He'll get into a center and knock the center like 3-4 yards into the backfield. And I also don't think he's going to cost a ton. You know, Chris, you mentioned the spot track value. He's market values at like $6 million. I think he's like a 2-year, $10 million kind of guy. I wanted him last year. He signed like a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with Detroit.
So maybe he comes here for 4.
I would take.
Hey,
you have to get that skill set, that role. You need an ass kicker. You need a stone. You need a displacement mitigator on the interior of this defense. And you needed that in general, but even more so now.
So let's switch to linebackers because here's a question I have. Everybody, including your brethren over there at Cover One, did a show and they had Leo Chenal on their thumbnail on YouTube. And they were like, oh, Leo Chenal, let's talk about this. Let me ask you. Chenault.
It's a T?
No, there's no
I was going to say, I was like, am I wrong here? That's funny.
Here's a question.
LaVisca is Chenault.
Oh, I get it. Well,
how badly do the Bills have to go get a linebacker?
Bad.
I don't understand, but I want you to explain it to me because I've looked at this and gone, if there's a place I can go cheap, I feel like it should be here, considering the fact that I paid one of these idiots.
I don't think Chenal will be too expensive if it makes you feel better.
All right. Well, it does. And what I want to know is I think about this and I look at, okay, Terrell Bernard. Yep. What is his role right now, today?
Injured.
When I look at Terrell Bernard, you are a team captain.
Yeah.
You are a guy who was retained on a 4-year contract.
Yeah, 4 years, $43 million.
And then you were a healthy displacement from middle linebacker, calling plays, wearing the green dot. Because you didn't do your job well enough that Shaq Thompson couldn't steal it from you. That does not bode well for you here. Now a new defensive coordinator comes in off the street and goes, wait, aren't you the guy who lost his job to a dude off the street?
I feel like you're doing Office Space. It's like, what is it you say you
what is
do
it
here?
you say you do here? If I'm coming in to a new company and saying, okay, let me, as a manager, let me understand what everyone's doing.
Well done. Yeah, 4 years. 4 years, 42. I said 4 years.
4 years, $42 million. And I'm the new DC coming in going, okay, what does everyone do here? What do you bring to the table? And I go, wait, are you the guy who wore the C and then got benched? You were a healthy scratch for a Shaq Thompson off the street?
Well, he wasn't truly healthy, though.
But he never was. That's fair. But also, why weren't you healthy? Was it because the defensive line wasn't keeping you clean?
That was also part of it.
Or is it because you're not meant to play that type of game? Are you supposed to be a player who should be away from the line of scrimmage and not getting into car crashes consistently? Are you almost like a hybrid safety / linebacker that, like, those are the conversations you start having. If you're so injured playing linebacker that you can't be an every down player, you can't be my middle linebacker. Because your middle linebacker has to be a dude who you rely on week in and week out to be the most durable. Like, that was Tremaine Edmonds, the most durable, biggest, like, unfungible piece that you had on your defense. Chris, you're waving at me.
We got Charles in the comments. Bernard should do better in a 3-4 like he played in college.
So I look at Bernard and go, if you have a different D line in front of you, because we talked about this, you know that the line allowed a lot of guys to get to the second level. There was a lot of detritus. There was a lot of havoc that got wreaked on our defense because our defensive line could not maintain the line of scrimmage. If you were to do some of the things that you're proposing, do you think Terrell Bernard maintains his job and maybe returns to the form that got him paid?
What I think is tough with Terrell Bernard, and even like the college comment of him at Baylor, right? When he was playing at Baylor, he was playing in a defense that was playing, and if anyone like doesn't know, like the Big 12 at that time.
The Big 12, the defense didn't exist.
Correct. And all, but Dave Aranda, his head coach and defensive mind, is awesome. You know, Jim Leonhard and him have a bit of a good history together. But everything in the Big 12 was super spread offense.
Yep.
So like you would play the tight. That's part of the reason why like Iowa State started doing the tight front stuff and the 3 safety looks, because they were trying to combat the spread. So Bernard's biggest issue is he can play linebacker. He's going to have issues coming forward in today's NFL, because in today's NFL, teams are running the ball more. They're running downhill more, and he is not built to stack and shed and take on blockers.
Never.
He's 220 pounds. He's got short arms. The only way he can defeat a block...
He's a more athletic Keith Ellison.
Yeah, he was much better in coverage than Ellison, too. He has way better coverage instinct.
I'm being mean.
Shock. But yeah, I think
You got shocked.
the whole
You're
way
being
that
mean.
the whole way that he's going to beat a block is by beating a blocker to a spot. And he couldn't do that last year because he had one ankle. So he had tons of bad movement. Now, the issue I think going forward is whether in a 4-3, an odd front defense, whatever, you still have to protect him. You still have to have people up front who can eat blocks. And even to that degree, like, that's part of the reason, again, so are you going to play a big movement defense so you can slant and take blockers? Because Ed Oliver isn't built to just anchor and mitigate displacement. TJ Sanders isn't built for that either. Deion Walker isn't really built for that either.
Nope.
Okay, so we do have to do a lot of movement. That risk reward comes with that. But I think Bernard's biggest thing is, like the reason the difference with him and Shaq Thompson last year, Shaq Thompson, between his veteran experience and his size and physicality, Shaq Thompson could come downhill and bang against a guard and shake off of it and then make a play. Bernard can't do that. I think he still has good coverage instincts. I think he can make plays in coverage. I think he's a good blitzer. So I think
Weak side linebacker then?
fair, but then in the odd front stuff, like, what are you still doing with him? And that's,
Yes.
again, why I want to pair him with a Chenal, who can be a downhill thumper in your odd front stuff, or Ellis, who can be a downhill thumper, do movement things. I think
Let's
pairing him
talk
with
about these
that.
two guys.
Yeah.
Leo Chenal, Caden Ellis.
Yes.
Leo Chenal, to me, I remember the draft year where I was talking about the Bills have to get a linebacker. And they neglected not to take a 1.
His tape that year, he was beating the hell out of Tyler Linderbaum.
And
in the
I
Wisconsin-Iowa
watched
game.
Chenal go in the 3rd round, and I was like, you gotta be shitting me. The Bills didn't take this. And yet you're gonna call AJ Klein off the bus.
off the cruise ship.
He's literally about to get on an RV with his family and go on vacation. You're calling him for the playoffs, but you didn't need Leo Chenal. But you didn't need him.
Yeah.
What is his value? I feel like he's going to be a sought after commodity.
Yeah. I think I don't think
Well, here's the thing. Compare him to Caden Ellis.
okay.
For the sake of truncating this, him and Caden Ellis is an also ran name in the minds of fans.
Yeah.
But in the names of guys who understand tape and football,
Yeah.
they're players who can contribute at a high level. Who would you rather see the Bills invest in?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. I think Chenal will be cheaper, so I would say Chenal. And I also know Chenal has a connection, a significant one, to Leonhard. Like, he
Yep.
was awesome at Wisconsin because of Leonhard and their connection together. And I think at some point, Leonard's going to bring in somebody he has a connection to. It could be John Franklin Myers. It could be Strnad, one of the linebackers from Denver. It could be Chenal. It could be Jack Sanborn. Somebody somehow, some way, from either the Denver stuff or the Wisconsin stuff, will come here to help Leonard stabilize and get what he wants from an on-the-field perspective.
Charles in the comments again. Bernard needs a strong inside linebacker, running mate that can play strong. Hello, Leo Chenal, and then also offers Jermaine Pratt as another option.
Yeah, he's somebody we talked about in the film room last week. I like Chenal and Ellis better because Chenal and Ellis can both give you the downhill thump aspect from an off-ball linebacker spot, right? In general, whether it's the 3-4 inside linebacker, whether it's a starter opposite of, even if the defense stayed the same and you're replacing Milano with one of those guys, they can still do that. But what's nice about both of them is they each have like hybridization capabilities. You can take Leo Chenal and line him up in the A gap and let him jack up a guard or jack up a center and be a menace. You can line up Leo Chenal on the edge and let him pass rush the quarterback. Now, you can do the same thing with Ellis. I think Ellis gives you more pass rush ability as an edge rusher in sub-package looks, and that's the biggest thing with the linebacker spot. The linebackers for Jim Leonhard, again, you go back to the Wisconsin days, because in Denver, there was some of this, but not as much. The off-ball linebackers for Jim Leonhard were Jack Sanborn and Leo Chenal, and then your other linebackers were like Herbig and Van Ginkel and Noah Burks and all these guys that it was like, am I dropping into coverage? Am I rushing? Where am I coming from? What's going to happen? Like his nickel looks where it was 4 down, 2 behind them. The 4 down, the 2 interior guys were defensive ends. The 2 edges were outside linebackers. They were Nick Herbig and Van Ginkel. It was Nick Herbig and Leo Chenal. And then in the early down stuff, Leo Chenal was an off-ball linebacker next to Sanborn. So I think Leonhard raises the floor of this defense, which schematically, philosophically, identity-wise, but to maximize it, you need players who can fit hybrid roles and fit hybridized fronts. And I think Chenal and Ellis both give you that because they're guys who can blitz from an off-ball in between the tackles perspective, A-gap to C-gap. They can play the run, A-gap to C-gap. They can line up on the edge. They can drop into coverage. You can do a lot with these guys. And I really think like, I said it on Disguised Coverage. I said it in the film room. The Bills have to get either Leo Chenal or Caden Ellis. They have to get one. Those guys raise the floor for the defense because of their skill set and how it ties into the hybridization and the multiplicity of what Jim Leonhard wants to do. He wants to run simulated pressures and creeper pressures, which are 4 pressures with 4, but you don't know which 4 are coming or who's doing what. And to do that, you need to look at guys and be like, well, who's rushing? And if you're like, oh, well, that guy rushes, we don't care, he sucks. Or he might drop into coverage, well, he can't, he drops, cool, he sucks. That kills you. And you need to be able to have the guys who can threaten and have a realistic possibility of wearing multiple hats and being effective. Chenal and Ellis are both that. They need to get one of them. Not someone like them would help. They need one of them. They need Caden Ellis or Leo Chenal. 1,000%, full stop.
Skid Valve in the comments for a gallon of gas in California. I'm late, but I'm happy to see Anthony back. Give me him and Drew more. The yin yang works great. Would be one of the best shows on Cover One.
Thank you very much. That's super kind. Cheers. Man, I'll do a. Let's tell you, it's easy. Whiskey sours and pizza. Commit to it now and make it part of the signing bonus.
Here we go.
That's it. I don't care. Everything is gravy.
All I got to do is go, Anthony. I've come up with a new formula for whiskey sours. I make like a lime syrup.
You don't even have to get that far. You just say new formula for whiskey sour, and I'm in the car already.
The last thing I'll touch on is your point about safety, because you were saying if the Bills can't capitalize on any of these things, then they better go make a great move at safety.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I just kind of sent you in my notes for tonight's show, it's that safety has quietly been the safety net for the Buffalo Bills over the last decade. And now all of a sudden they're not.
The football gods have punished the Bills for their good years of safety play.
Yeah. And Cole Bishop is finally coming around into his own right.
A little bit, yeah.
But you've got Taylor Rapp, who got hurt last year. Like, now, knowing what his injury was, and
he got hurt injuring someone else on his own team.
I'm not doing this.
We're not having that fight.
Not doing this again.
I'm not going to do this to him. What I'll say is, Taylor Rapp might be the best third safety in the NFL.
Yeah, but they can't have that third. They need that money.
And so the idea is, what do you do here? Can you afford to pay a safety that puts Taylor Rapp on the bench if you're going to run a two safety scheme?
I think you have to. Taylor Rapp, I think, is a fine safety, and I don't mean that like disparagingly, like, oh, fine, like it's like a nice way of saying he sucks. I don't think that at all. I just don't think his skill set meshes with Cole Bishop.
Sure.
In Jim Leonhard, and that was even before Jim Leonhard came over, but now in Jim Leonhard's defense, you're going to play more single high. So you're going to get more cover 1, you're going to get more cover 3. I've continued to say this, like Cole Bishop at his best at Utah, and what I still believe is at his best in the NFL, is playing in and around the box as much as possible.
Sure.
As the down safety, a robber safety, a
He
big
should
nickel
be your
apex.
Jordan Poyer.
Yes, and so now what's cool with Poyer, though, is if you drop Poyer was still really good in 2 high looks or even single high stuff.
Yes.
Right? But yeah, you knew if push came to shove.
Also, Poyer was nasty as fuck.
Yes. But if push came
Poyer had a mean streak that you can't teach. He loved the physicality of football. This was a guy who literally doctors told him you have a bruise in your lungs and you shouldn't fly. And he was like, well, fine, fuck it. I'll get a bus and I'll drive to Kansas City. And then I will go out there and throw my body around.
Gamer, just absolute gamer.
I want to die out here.
You got that. Hey man, that's any given Sunday type stuff.
Yeah.
Right? In any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die. Who's
ready
win
to
that
die
and
to play this game.
Sick. And you knew a push came to shove. Poyer was more strong safety and Hyde was more free.
Yes.
Bishop is more strong than he is free. Now, Bishop has made progress as a single high post safety and as a safety in 2 deep coverages, but he's at his best in and around the line of scrimmage. Rapp, as a single high safety or even as a deep safety, he can process well. He just doesn't have the foot speed, doesn't have the athleticism, and that hasn't been his game, like, really ever.
That's why he's never been paid, and it's why he was a late draft pick.
Correct. That's also why he got bumped to dime linebacker at the end of his tenure. And you know what's funny, though? Part of the reason why that Rams team won a Super Bowl, Taylor Rapp is the dime linebacker, was super good. Go back to the Super Bowl. Watch Taylor Rapp, no joke, watch him lock up Jamar Chase as the dime linebacker, because in and around the box, Taylor Rapp works. He processes well. He sees the game well.
Yep.
He doesn't have the foot speed, doesn't have the range. So you need to pair Bishop with somebody who has the range, has the processing, but also isn't a complete silo. Like, you need somebody who can play that safety, who's more ball hawk based, more range based, more coverage based, but can still play in the box, can still tackle, can still fit the run, which is why for me, I've got 3 main ones. Kobe Bryant from the Seattle Seahawks, Jalen Thompson from the Arizona Cardinals, and then Brian Cook, safety from the Chiefs, and even Kevin Byard, safety from the Bears.
But Jalen Thompson might be your favorite.
I really love him and Kobe Bryant. I love both. It's different. Jalen Thompson is a velociraptor, and I love my velociraptors. He is, and it's part of also because it's cool what Arizona did. They play a lot of 3 safety stuff.
Yeah.
And so him and Buddha and the other safety was, Darian Thompson. They would do some stuff with Garrett Williams at times, but they just did a lot of cool things schematically the past couple of years. But Thompson he'd essentially, to kind of put it into perspective for folks, one snap, he'd beat Taron Johnson. The next snap, he'd beat Jordan Poyer. The next snap, he'd beat Micah Hyde. You'd see him everywhere. He's manning up on legitimate slot receivers. He's covering in the slot on guys like Kendrick Bourne on whip routes and closing down on them and making plays. He's manning up.
You love to have some chaos.
I want chaos.
Like, hey, I want a dude who can just, hey, you don't know how to project what I'm going to put on the field because it's chaos.
There's one clip, I put it out on social in his larger scale cut up and also one individual play. He's the end man on the line of scrimmage against the Bucs this past year, showing blitz. They're showing cover 0. There's nobody on the back end. On the snap, he drops from being the end man on the line of scrimmage to the post, screams back to the post, picks up Tez Johnson, the receiver, and eyes him because he's watching him the whole way. That's his man. And then so he's looking over here to pick up Tez because he's coming from this side. And then he eyes Baker and sees Baker throws a seam ball behind him the other way. So he speed turns, gets around on top of it, jumps it, and creates a collision point. It should have had the pick, but he PBUs it. He's got such a diverse skill set that's so fun, but I also think if you just let him just play safety, he'd be a very good safety.
Hey, don't get near the box. We've got those guys.
Well, he can be a little in the box.
Yeah,
you can do like box safety, but just let him be a box safety or a free.
But what if we set him as free and put Cole Bishop in the box and go, hey, be single high and just watch what happens?
That's it. And he can fit the run from depth. He's mean. He can blitz. He hits hard. Kobe Bryant's in a similar mold too. The reps and the violence and the intensity, the match coverage capability. I really would love Kobe Bryant or Jalen Thompson. It's just a matter of how much they get paid.
Chris,
what the
you're
market looks like.
Well, I'm just saying, everybody I asked people in the chat, what safeties do you guys want? We got Xavier Watts.
We can trade Landon Jackson for.
I'd kill for that.
I'm not gonna lie. I would sacrifice Landon Jackson right now if we could go back in time. And
I'd sacrifice Landon Jackson for another whiskey sour, and I could already get one of those easily. So there. I like Brisker, but I don't think Brisker and Bishop are a good pairing together because it's too much same. You still need somebody who is more processing angles and coverage based, especially from a single high perspective in the post.
Sophie St. George, talk of Teron Johnson at safety. I don't love it. I just think it's too hard of a. There's a reason you don't see a lot of corners who move to safety. People think it's easy.
Yeah.
People think it's easy to go from having a safety to a. People talked about Trey White. Oh, well, you just move Trey White to safety. It doesn't work like that.
You're seeing the game from a completely different vantage point. The angles are different. The responsibilities are different. The processing, how you see what you see, how the timing you have to react to it is different. I get the notion with Taron because it's like, oh, well, he's like a physical player. He's not the fastest. He's a good tackler. Like, let's have him be a safety. And if it could be done, I would not be opposed to it. I just think it's a much harder move than gets talked about. And you're still going to see a good amount of nickel in Jim Leonhard's defense, so you're still going to need a nickel corner. Now,
I almost feel like you fired Teron Johnson in the sun.
No, I don't think you can yet.
Well,
my bigger part is...
This is how we end the show.
In a kind of full circle. My ideal thing, I think, you take Cole Bishop and you make him your nickel, and he's your big nickel, and then you get two safeties to start from there. But that's a conversation for another time.
There's Teron Johnson's contract.
Yes. And the cap, I would say cap at about 11.4. 11.4 this year. But the dead cap is decent if you cut him. Again, my issue is if you cut Taron, you need to replace him with a nickel.
Sure.
So
you gotta go find a guy.
You're creating a hole that you have to fill.
So what if they sign the guy you were just talking about and they got him?
Who, Jalen Thompson?
Yeah.
I don't want Jalen Thompson as my full-time nickel. I want him as a safety.
I get it.
Now, if you want to cut Taron Johnson because you're going to sign Jalen Thompson and Kobe Bryant and put Cole Bishop as your permanent nickel, I would be all on board for that.
And so then when you look at the roster now and you think about cuttable, tradable contracts, guys who might have value, I think about this. When Brandon Beane took over as GM in 2017, think about how the cadence of that happened. Sean McDermott gets hired. They do the draft. and then they go, hey, by the way, Doug Whaley, you and your entire staff are fired.
Thanks for everything you did. You're out.
And then they bring in a Brandon Beane who then undoes a lot of what Whaley just did. And you go through that process of, hey, I've had to tear down guys who, hey, he just drafted that guy in the second round. Well, I don't give a shit. I wasn't the guy who greenlit that.
Yeah.
So when Brandon Beane inherits the Buffalo Bills and finds a Reggie Ragland that we took in the second round and says, well, I don't give a shit that he was a second round pick. He doesn't fit here. My coach is telling me he doesn't fit. We ship him off to a team where he does. And he goes on to play 25 starts for a team that wins its division every year.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
Man. Didn't Reggie Ragland got hurt or he hurt somebody or Reggie Bush hurt him? Wasn't there something?
Nope. It was literally just they thought he was too slow to cover.
Didn't he get hurt at one point or didn't he hurt something? I'm going to have to look into this.
No, it literally just came down to they did not trust Reggie Ragland to drop as a middle linebacker. I wouldn't have trusted him either. No, of course not. Watching his career tape, of course you wouldn't. No. But that wasn't his job. That wasn't what he was drafted for.
I'll have to play Drew's reaction to drafting Ragland.
I thought Ragland was a cat's ass because I thought it would fix our defense, and then it turns out he didn't get to play.
Do you mean the cat's pajamas? What's the cat's ass?
The cat's ass.
Is that a good thing?
It's supposed to be.
Cat's ass through a hole in the sheet.
Nice way to bring it full circle. I've never heard, man, dude, I love that pick.
There's a lot of things you haven't heard about.
That guy is the cat's ass. I've never heard of that. Chat, is that a thing?
Let's talk about Landon Jackson.
Chat, are we cooked?
Because there's guys here who I think are...
I'm the wrong person to ask about it.
Kind of just, they're fucked. And I don't know how to tell them. Like, should we write them a card? Do we send them wreaths? Do we a box of chocolates?
Edible arrangements.
When I think about Landon Jackson, like he was my example of Reggie. Like a couple weeks ago, I was talking about Reggie Ragland, and I go, look, Beane has divested of players who had value just not value here and gotten rid of him because the coach said, hey, this doesn't fit. And Bean goes, okay, I'll find a dance partner. I'll just cut him. And so in that way, they've painted this whole thing as everything's McDermott's fault.
Yeah.
We talked about it at the top of the show. So now we've come full circle to where we're talking about Landon Jackson being here. That very much seems like a pick they would blame on the coach because it's the archetype of, hey, we have to replace AJ Epinesa. We have to do this. We have to do that.
Yeah, length, power, compression.
How about this? Now that the scheme has changed, you could almost argue that AJ Epinesa gives you what you need from this spot.
Like original AJ Epinesa.
Original AJ Epinesa.
Iowa AJ Epinesa.
Iowa AJ Epinesa. And that's where I look at what Landon Jackson was. Because when we drafted AJ Epinesa, we drafted a dude who's, I don't like it. I don't love it. It's reckless. I hate these comps. But his NFL comp was Cam Hayward or Carlos Dunlap. And I go, oh, okay, cool. So he's aggressive and he can hand fight and he's got body and he's going to be willing to take on contact and he's going to eat blockers and shed them. And then the Bills got him and said, hey, why don't you lose 15 pounds and learn how to be a D end?
Also, we can't meet with you in person ever because it's COVID. So good luck doing all that. And also, all the grocery stores are closed.
Yeah. They're like, don't worry, just lose a bunch of weight and then also do this thing. And so that's why him and Daryl Johnson both had like a red shirt year where they never got run. And then in his first season, we had to play that playoff game against the Colts. And I was like, holy shit, AJ Epinesa is out there. Yeah. He's going to blow this. And he didn't, but he wasn't great.
No, he's never been.
And so then you move on from that and you go, okay, AJ Epinesa grew into his role over time, but that's what happens when you're miscast.
Yeah.
They tell you to lose weight and fit a body type that it's almost outside your skill set.
Yes.
So you drafted Landon Jackson to fit a backup AJ Epinesa skill set. Now the scheme changes. Is there still a road for him to finding a way to the roster?
What I think is interesting with him, so I did not like Landon Jackson as a prospect. I was fine that they took him in the third round, right? But he just real stiff lower body. No
over
bend.
Xavier Watts?
I don't want to. I'm not
going to talk about that.
I'm not doing that. Yeah, just real stiff in the lower body, like straight line and nothing else. Length, compression, I get it. Plays the run. For him, I wonder, you could do two things, right? You could
you do the opposite? Could you reverse AJ?
So that's what I'm thinking was what you could leave him as is and be like, hey, you're going to line up in a 2-point stance. You're going to play edge for us. And sure, maybe. But yeah, I think like the year before he was drafted, he was heavy and they played him on the interior at Arkansas. And that's where a lot of his like run defense understanding came from. Like he lost weight and got leaner and thinner his final year at Arkansas. But you still saw like that's part of why he played the run like a menace because he was kind of an interior defensive lineman mindset. So yeah, I wonder, do you take him and be like, hey, Landon, we need you to get back to like 280 pounds like you did at Arkansas, 285, maybe even 290. We'll see how much your frame can carry. And we're going to play you at a 4.
Because he's high cut.
Yes, he's high cut.
And can you say this for people? Because if they hear it from me, they won't understand it.
Okay.
Like,
no. Whoa, no.
This is racism.
Well, I'm just saying. Mark Sullivan just chimed in. Never seen the show before, but the host Drew needs to stop interrupting Anthony. And I'm like, dude, I've worked with Atlanta radio heavies. I've given Drew tips. He doesn't learn.
I don't think he's interrupting me. I think we're having
what I'll say is this. Hey, Mark Sullivan in the chat. Here's what I'll tell you. I have my own thoughts, and it's my show, and if I want to say something, I will. Here's what I think. I think that when you have a player who you think you can manipulate, and you can kind of say, hey, what if I put you in this role?
Yeah.
I want to see at least what that looks like.
I would take, I'll put it like this. I would rather see a heavier Landon Jackson play at 4i than I would TJ Sanders.
Yes.
Because I think he has the mentality and the play style. Like Landon Jackson, honestly, like even at whatever he weighs now, what does he weigh now? 275, 280, something like that?
He's 275.
275. Even that, with him not being that heavy, the length and the style, I'd be like, I might let you go battle a tackle at a 4i spot now at this size. But yeah, just put on 10 pounds to be like 285, maybe even 290 if you can handle like you did at Arkansas.
But high cut gets a bad rap because when you talk about it. So for those of you who, I'm not just making this up, those of you who are from the film study world and the draft study world, what does high cut mean?
High cut essentially means like you're very long legged and like short torsoed. And that just in
like Puna Ford.
No, the opposite.
The complete opposite.
Puna Ford didn't really have a torso, but also like didn't really have legs.
He's neck.
Small. Yeah. I was gonna say for what he lacked.
For those of you who know Pokemon, he was Gollum.
Oh,
the Golem,
funny.
just a boulder with a turtle face.
I think he's more built like Gengar. He's not a ghost, but he's built like Gengar.
Just a ghost body.
Yeah. Could you imagine if you got Gengar another 10, 15 pounds and plugged him into the interior of a Pokemon defense? Be a menace.
Yes.
But yeah, it's essentially being high cut is another way of saying like long legged or like short torsoed, and that isn't great for bend and dip, anchor, all those things. And Landon Jackson, again, if you think about it in that perspective of being like more long legged and short torsoed, and then you watch him hit his frame. Everything for him is very straight line. It's part of the reason you don't see a lot of great change of direction. You don't see a lot of dip. You don't see a lot of bend. It's just harder. It's essentially like JP Acosta from CBS Sports, who I've done a bunch of shows with. He calls Deion Walker the Iron Giant because of how he's unable to bend. Landon Jackson kind of has some of that a little bit, but because he's so long-legged, like it's just hard. Think if somebody watched wrestling, right? If you're a wrestling fan, Kevin Nash or Diesel, super long legs. How easy was it for Kevin Nash or Diesel to bend, to dip, to do that kind of stuff? It's how your body is comprised.
What do you talk about Mabel?
Mabel wasn't high. Mabel was kind of like a huge. Mabel was built like Puna Ford, but everything was times 10. Just huge in every way, shape, and form. So yeah, it makes him a very linear, straight line athlete, which again is why I didn't like him at edge, because it's like he can't dip and bend around the corner. But you know what he can do that the Bills would have loved? Well, he's got long arms and he's violent. He can just compress the pocket and go through somebody.
I love how this guy's obsessed with that. I keep interrupting you.
I can't see far, and I can't see that close enough.
Is your vision as bad as my wife's?
No, I have my glasses on. I can see some of the words, but it's just the font is too tiny.
Do this.
Yeah, here we go.
I can see it now.
That's
Yeah,
how you need to do it. Mark, we're not slating.
I only see one comment from Mark.
Oh, he's had a couple.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it. Sorry.
He's just mad.
He's new here. He doesn't know Drew. He's like, oh, what? Can you just imagine stumbling on this on YouTube? You're like, oh, I like the Bills. And then you just stumble on the Rockpile Report. You've never seen it. You don't know what it is. And you're like,
or you know who cover one is, and you walk in here and go, well, I've never heard about this Rockpile thing, but it might be cool. And they walk in and they go, wait, why does this guy have a graveyard of beers next to him? Oh, shocker, he's yelling at people.
Have you drank all those while we were doing the show?
yeah.
Damn, you're 5 beers deep. I didn't even realize that. When did that happen?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's a mystery.
I sincerely didn't notice. What happened?
I'm gonna think that Mark thinks that this show is beneath you.
Good example from Charles in the chat. He says high cut Deshaun Jackson. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a high cut wide receiver. Now, because Deshaun was, I don't know, 160 pounds, 170, he had a little more bend to him. But yeah, think of Deshaun Jackson as a wide receiver. Straight line burner. Deshaun Jackson wasn't, let me put a bunch of moves, let me dip, dive, duck, dive, and dodge type of stuff. It was more like, hey, straight line speed, linear speed, stuff like that.
And so with that, I feel like the Bills defense has to make moves, and yet they also have to figure out what the hell they want to do with their own personnel. They have a lot of work to do ahead of the 11th.
It really does start with like again, Deion Walker. Do you think he can moonlight at nose? You do? Cool. That means you just need to get a true nose to pair with him. Or do you think, nope, we're going to put him in a 4-eye, and then you're like, okay, now we need 2 noses. And if he can, and if it's the first option where he can moonlight at nose and you just get a Roy Lopez to go with him, then you need to get a John Franklin Myers or a Sebastian Joseph Day or a David Onyemata to be a 4-eye for you. So it's all of these. It starts with who they currently have, where they plug those guys in, and then the dominoes from there. And that also goes back to linebacker, because regardless of what they have, they don't have the linebacker who can rock with Bernard. I think Dorian Williams has progressed. He's fine coming downhill as a run thumper. He's even fine in some odd fronts as like a Sam end man on the line of scrimmage holding the edge. But he can't pass rush off the edge as like an actual pass rusher.
Nope.
And he's still got questions in coverage. And those are 2 huge, big things. Similar to kind of like Shaq Thompson. I'd welcome Shaq Thompson back. Start him alongside Bernard. Downhill thumper, cool. Can play in coverage, but it's not great. Because again, mileage on the tires.
Until you're playing the Jaguars.
But again, that speaks to his, like he understands their route concepts. He looks to the front side and sees that nothing's threatening him, immediately gets his eyes front side. He knows the dig is coming. He robs it, pick. Like, love that play from Shaq. But you're not going to line him up on the edge to pass rush or tackle one-on-one like you could do with Chenal, like you can do with Ellis. So it starts up front, who they see plugged in where. I think there's multiple avenues they can go. And then the couple free agent breadcrumbs we get will really tell us. But linebacker, I think it's non-negotiable. Like, you have to get, for me right now, you have to get Ellis or Chenal. I also think you have to get Roy Lopez or Tonga no matter what. Like, whether you're getting two noses or one, at the very least, you need a true nose and then a linebacker, and then you go everything from there based on what you think Deion Walker can be, what you think about TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, all of that, which, again, is happening because of the scheme. But I also think you had, even if McDermott stayed, you had to ask yourself some questions about TJ Sanders and about Landon Jackson and about the interior and about linebacker as well.
So
I love Mark Sullivan in the comments. I'm funny to him because I've been dogging you in the chat. For you, like, you're one of the worst people I've worked with.
Wow.
But you're also one of my best friends. So
man, this is quite the dichotomy.
There's that. There's that.
That was such a nice thing, but man, I was expecting more meanness to come from this. Just the environment.
Mark Sullivan, I'm happy you found the show. Please come check it out one more time. Just come see what it looks like.
Are we doing it Monday?
I don't see anything too negative from it. I see him say that this producer is hilarious.
Because you're going out of town Monday?
I think we might do it Monday.
Monday, live show Monday at 8 p.m.?
Monday, 8 p.m. live show. Come check it out. Mark, come back. Try it one more time, and if it doesn't suit you, hey, maybe we're not for you, but that's okay. I
like that Charles also said, dang, we got a Roy Lopez mention from Ant. Now I got to drink. I said his name a bunch here. You got to drink a lot. I will continue to shout Roy Lopez's name from the mountaintops until they sign him. And again, someone else could sign him. He's just he's the type of good football player you need in today's NFL. Like,
you hope that they recognize what they need defensively. Now that Sean McDermott's left the building, you hope that they recognize what their needs are defensively.
Foregoing the run is not an option anymore for defenses. Teams will no longer be like, yeah, we want to run to set up the pass. Now teams are going to be like, oh, we're just going to keep running it down your throat because you can't do anything to stop it.
And you have to hope that they're hearing that, because by all accounts, all the decisions that were made and everything that you've heard from the front office now, again, it's easier to blame the guy who's not here.
Yeah, Timmy got fired, so now
Timmy got fired. I'm going to pile up all my failures at his doorstep. You mean to tell me that Sean McDermott never once was like, hey, can you go get me a nose tackle?
So this is the thing that I'm always going to go back to and think, like, I know what Sean McDermott wants to be, and I've talked about it for years of, like, I want him to be more like Jim Johnson, who we learned from in Philly. But Sean McDermott wants to be what he was in Carolina, which is like, hey, and it makes sense. If you have a nasty front four, just let your front four win, because you know what that means? That means you always have 7 bodies in coverage. You always have the numbers. You can disguise.
It's how the Eagles beat the Chiefs in embarrassing fashion.
Yes. If you have the horses, do it. The problem with the Bills, they never had the horses for that. But that's what Sean McDermott wants to be, and I get it and I understand it. What I have such a hard time understanding from McDermott being everybody is 2 years ago, so you trade Stephon Diggs, and you move your offense in line with NFL meta and trends, which is, hey, we're going to
13 personnel,
bigger bodied wide receivers, condensed formations. We're going to run the football. You build an offense in line with the best offenses in the NFL, right? What the Rams were doing and the Shanahans were doing and that whole tree, what everybody was leaning into, condensed formations, bigger body types, heavier personnel, all that. You build an offense in line with NFL trends and current NFL meta that is designed to murder the type of defense you have. And you do that recognizing this is the way football is going. This is the way it's trending.
You don't fix your own
defense. And you don't do anything about defense. So that to me made me think, like, okay, was it Brady pushing the string? Because there's no good answer. Because someone could say, oh, well, maybe it was Brady who was at the forefront of that movement. Okay, but then that means that Sean McDermott gave Brady the keys to the offense. So then all the other arguments about, well, they're running too much and they don't push the ball downfield, that means it's on Brady. Because if McDermott gave him the keys, that means he gave him the keys. I just find it hard to believe that no one in the building, especially Sean McDermott, was like, let's build the offense to kill this type of defense, and then let's leave that defense as our defense. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't get being, they were bad against the run in 2024. And then you come into 2025 and you're like, here's what we're going to do. Ed Oliver, smaller, can't anchor. Larry Ogunjobi, can't anchor. TJ Sanders, can't anchor. Deion Walker, can't anchor. Dwayne Carter, can't anchor. There's our interior defensive line. Matt Milano, 223 pounds. Terrell Bernard, 220 pounds.
It's hilarious when you
what are you doing?
Like this.
But it's crazy to take one side of the ball and make it so in line with what it's like having the first floor of your house have internet and lights and Wi-Fi, and the second and the upstairs has candle lights and no electricity and no internet, and you're sleeping on like straw beds. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't do that to your house. Why? What? I don't understand. Who's allowing that? How does that happen?
I like Curtis in the comment. Drew's easier to take because he knows he's an asshole. The asshole who is not self-aware are the ones who suck.
That is a very true statement. And Drew has said something very similar offline and online many times.
And literally, we were talking about it before we recorded this podcast.
Sitting eating pizza and talk about that exact
I was like,
thing.
one of my superpowers is the self-awareness that I am one of the worst people. I'm one of the worst.
But he knows it.
But I know that. And I'll never change.
That's why he's an anti-hero. He's a vigilante. You got some Punisher to you. That's what you are.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I love that you guys enjoy this. Drew, here goes, does Aldi still make you pay a quarter to get a shopping cart?
I hate that.
I think we got a better chance of getting our quarterback than getting a Drew's dentist.
And finding Drew's dentist. That's so mean.
So you think it's mean? To me, I enjoy that.
Jason Hixenbaugh has been here since the beginning. So
I enjoy the
it.
detritus. I invite it.
That's the second time you said that word.
Guys, I love you. I love all of you. I think that
let's get Mark's comment in here real quick. Matthew Judon. I know he's on the practice squad, but I'm not sure he's going to stick around till next year. But does he fit in a 3-4?
Man,
look at this. See, Mark Sullivan, you've already made out because you now get to ask your question without having to pay for it, and this guy's going to answer it.
I like how he recognized it too. I like how he misspelled Judon the first time and then tried to correct it. It's wrote Huron and then wrote, oh my God, Judon. Well done. Man, prime Judon. Oh, yeah, he definitely fits in the 3-4. I just don't think, from what I saw on his tape in Miami last year, I just don't think he has the juice to still be a consistent winner as a rusher. And then I don't think he offers you any versatility or hybridization from a coverage standpoint. And I think that's worrisome. And I also think tying into, again, maybe the Bills aren't the best judge of it, but they could have used any help at the edge in any way, shape, or form last year. And the fact that they didn't even really try to look to him, I think, says a lot. But yeah, I think prime Judon, yes. I just don't think, I think the miles on the tires and what he has left in the tank just isn't enough to kind of get them what they need.
I wouldn't rely on it. It's one of those things where the cliff comes fast in the NFL for a lot of players. Yeah. And when it happens, you watch the precipitous fall. How many times have we seen it?
Oh, yeah.
We've signed a guy off free agency going, hey, we can get the best. No, you don't.
Yeah,
you get the back acre.
It is crazy how much like you can just see when somebody doesn't have it anymore.
Yep.
And like they just don't have the juice, or they don't have the legs, like for whatever reason. And yeah, like that wall comes.
Dane Jackson, anytime he has to step on the football field,
Drew's
you go,
dad.
You shouldn't be out there.
I mean, yeah, that's low.
Anytime Dane Jackson has to step on the football field, you go, oh, you shouldn't be here.
I think that's
something must have gone catastrophically wrong.
He shouldn't be a regular starter. Yeah, I mean, well, he just shouldn't be.
He just shouldn't be around.
Him being in, but that was that Denver game. That moment was the worst case scenario. Not only is he in man coverage, he's in man coverage against like the fastest receiver that Denver has.
Yes,
like, that's an absolute nightmare. Like, I think he can function fine in a lot of zone looks and even function at times still as in man. Granted, he's like a CB4, maybe a CB3, but yeah, like that was a that was a worst case scenario for him.
All I'm going to say
Poor
is
guy.
you can make mistakes. You can misplace your trust. Hopefully this brain trust understands what's at stake, knows how important the next 2 years is.
They better not screw up Jim Leonhard.
They better not
They
fuck
better not
this up.
screw up my Jim Leonhard.
They better not fuck this up.
I would take Jim Leonhard over everybody in the front office and coaching.
You'd sacrifice all of them for a Jim Leonhard?
If you told me whoever I had to kill to keep Jim Leonhard and to keep Jim Leonhard and Jay Valai, I would do that. I don't care. Whoever has to go, fine.
Jay Valai gang.
Hey,
Jay Valai gang.
you gotta what is it? You gotta fuck one, marry one, kill one, go. Jay Valai, Jim Leonhard, your wife.
Oh my God. I don't want to play this game. I'm out.
Guys, this is why the Rockpile Report exists. It's this conversation right here. I love you guys. Thank you for showing up, but we gotta get the hell out of here. We've gone an hour and 40. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Anthony Prohaska. Anthony, tell all the people what you got going on.
I definitely. I'm still thinking of the answer to the question. I just don't know which one of them I'm doing. I guess. Yeah, I host a show called Disguise Coverage, live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. It gets uploaded to all the audio apps and podcasting platforms right after that. And then I also co-host a show called The Film Room, also on the Cover One Network. That is live every Wednesday, usually 5 p.m. Eastern. Everything I do is film-based, analytics-based. Everything I post on social. You find me on Twitter at pro__ant. You can find me on Blue Sky at proant, no underscores there, just PROANT. Everything I do is X's and O's, scheme, structure, player evaluation, breakdowns. Anything and everything is always, scheme, structure, and evaluation from an advanced metric standpoint and film standpoint to put it all together. Somebody doesn't like that I'm wearing a Boston hat. That's really unfortunate for them.
Sorry, Jason Hickenbaugh.
Guys,
Yeah, you do everything that we don't. That's why you're here.
we love it. We got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. Anthony Prohaska.